All right, so we're going to dive right into our guest presentations tonight. Again, we're going to start with John Russel of Pacific Northwest Canna Reviews, and I'm really excited to bring him to stage. He's been so supportive of Cannabis Science Pub, from the blog posts to personal attendance to helping to boost us on social media. And if you guys haven't checked out Pacific Northwest Canna Reviews, it's a really good resource for reviews of different canna products. And there's also a really great blog. Check out the Stoner Date article. It gave me a really good chuckle. So without further ado, John Russel, please take the stage. And if you'd all warm him with a very strong welcome.
Thank you very much, Erica. Thank you, Bethany and OG Analytical, for having me today. I'm John. I'm with PNW Canna Reviews. I apologize for my voice. It's a little rough today. Today I am going to talk about the different delivery systems for dabbing, for better term, or lack of a better term. Before I do, though, there we go. Got to point that in the right spot, don't I? Before we go into those, though, I want to talk a little bit about the reason why we should be vaporizing versus smoking cannabis. I mean, smoking cannabis is great. There's medicinal value to it, but there's also some negative parts of smoking versus vaporizing. If you look at the beginning of this map, and thanks to Medical Jane for doing something so descriptive for us, right at about 285 degrees there, you see that the cannabinoids begin to vaporize. And that's where you start getting all of the medicinal benefit. THCA, CBCA, CBGA, all of those, they all vaporize at a much lower temperature than it takes to actually smoke a bowl. Moving forward, you actually see that right about 330 to 340, that's where THC, and that's your sweet spot. That's where all of the good stuff starts to really, really begin to vaporize, and you get a ton of medical benefit through the entourage effect. Moving up to about 390 to 400 degrees, that's where combustion begins, and that's where you start seeing the negative aspects of smoking. Just like smoking cigarettes, there is tar, and when we're talking about medical cannabis, we can't ignore the fact that when we smoke, there's tar, and we want to try to avoid that if you're smoking for a medicinal benefit. So, and then here at the front, you see 2,000 degrees or so. I mean, that's really hot, and that's kind of an over-exaggeration, but there's a reason. If you drop your joint in your lap, you end up with a burn spot. I mean, it's hot, and we want to avoid that. So when like it mentioned earlier, BHO, dabbing, whatever form of concentrate that you're using is a more pure form of smoking, so there's more medicinal benefit involved, and it also allows you to actually vaporize at a much lower temperature than what smoking cannabis does. So here's some different vaporizing points. These are the boiling points of the THC and different cannabinoids that are out there. Again, Steep Hill Labs does all sorts of extracts. They're on the cutting edge of the research, and they've provided us with great research when it comes to where everything vaporizes and the different levels or the different temperatures that you can reach. THCA, that's your acidic form of THC. It's before decarboxylation. There is a sedative. It's an anticonvulsant. They're using it for anti-seizure medicine. You want a much lower temperature for that. Moving down, when you come to CBD, you're looking at a much higher temperature. You saw in the first slide, 340 was around the temperature for THC and some of the other ones. Moving up to about 360 is where you'll see CBD. And then moving forward down, you see humulene, linalool, that's your sleep aid and your anti-inflammatories. Those require a little bit higher. My preferred spot when I'm using a dab pen is to set it at 395. You get everything, but it's not hot enough to over vaporize the earlier ones. Part of the problem when you start going with the hotter temperatures is that you actually vaporize and destroy the cannabinoids that vaporize at the earlier boiling points. So you play with it to find what your preferred temperature is, but 395 makes a really good starting point. And then as you see, once you get to about 450, you start getting the toxic chemicals from burning the plant, and that's what you kind of want to avoid. Okay, so before we move into how to dab, let's talk about what the state did. This is how the OLCC defines a concentrate versus an extract, and I disagree with this. I actually think that they got it backwards. And I'm pretty sure that several people will agree with me. A concentrate takes a product and concentrates it into a stronger form. That's why you see 20 to 25% CB or THC turn into 80+%. You're concentrating what you're doing. Versus an extraction, which pulls out the THC from the material. Rosin's a really good example of this. You see 55 to 60% THC rosin. What's left is plant particles. There's fats, there's wax, there's lipids that are part of the plants that come out. But you're extracting the THC, you're not concentrating it. So I think the OLCC got it backwards, but we're not here to knock them in the head. I just wanted to make sure that everybody kind of had an understanding of that. All right, so let's move into this. One of the questions on the trivia was the different street terms and what they are. Well, here is a bit more of a graphical reference. Crumble was mentioned earlier. You've got your crumbles right here. Live resin in the middle here. This is a more popular form. This is a fresh extraction where you've harvested the plant, you freeze it immediately, so it's more of a fresh, you get a lot more terpenes that are involved. Oh, I keep pulling that too far away. Sorry, guys. Up at the top, you see the CO2 oil. There's your vape pen, and that's kind of your most basic dab. It's the easiest way to do it. You go to any shop, you can buy a cartridge, you put it on a battery, and bam, you're dabbing, you're good to go. RSO is the only thing on here that is not a dab, and I borrowed this from Medical Jane again, and this is the one thing that I disagree on this. I don't think that RSO is dabbable, but I'm not the expert on this. You'll hear more from Sean Beeman about different things like that. He's the expert on that. I'm not. Not even going to talk about that. I just wanted to say I think they got it wrong. Moving on. Maybe. Okay, so before we actually go into the different delivery systems, I want to talk about the difference between single cannabinoid extracts and whole plant extractions. A lot of states with medical marijuana programs only allow for CBD only. And CBD only is great. It helps children. It's great for seizure medications. It's great for tumor medications and cancer treatments. And it's a great thing, and I'm not knocking it. But the problem with a single cannabinoid extract is that the entourage effect can't kick in. The entourage effect is something that is, a lot of research is still being done on that. It's not fully understood, but what is understood is that the different compounds that are in the cannabis plant all work together. THC works with CBC because CBC actually allows you to absorb the different cannabinoids more efficiently. You have CBG, which actually helps with ocular pressure. If you're a glaucoma patient, you're looking for CBG in your flower because that actually helps more than a CBD treatment alone would. In fact, there's like 100 cannabinoids. It depends on where you look. One side will say 80, one side will say 300. So it really depends on where you're doing your research, but for the most part, what we see is that there's an average of about 125 known cannabinoids, and all of them work together. In fact, in Israel right now, they're testing a CBD-CBC sublingual for children that is showing to not only drastically reduce seizures for the typical seizure patient, but for Dravet syndrome, it's actually reducing seizures over 85%. Just by the addition of CBC to help with the CBD uptake. Finally, with the whole plant extractions, you actually get all of the terpenes, which have their own medicinal benefits. Like I mentioned before, linalool will help you sleep. Instead of going for the Ambien, go for a plant that's got some linalool in it. You'll smoke it, get some CBN too, and that'll help you sleep. It's all about having the whole plant to help you with the full benefit of having the cannabis plant. Nature gave us the medicine, we just have to use all of it. So how do we dab? Oh, I actually skipped a slide, it looks like. Oh, one of my little things won't load, I'm sorry about that. There's supposed to be a picture here of what's known as a dab straw. It's your basic form of dabbing. It's a long tube, it's got a pointed end and a hollow end at the other side. You heat one end, you dip it into your concentrate, and inhale on the other side. It's one of the easiest ways to dab that is not a cartridge. Moving beyond that, when you're actually ready to start investing some money into the dabbing utensil that you're using, there are several different styles. We've got the one in not the far end, but in the middle. That's what's known as a recycler. It'll create a little cyclone. The diffuser in the one in the middle is designed to make sure that it catches any sort of reclaim before it ever hits the mouthpiece. There's a million different dab designs out there. It's all with the imagination of the artist. What's important is that part. That is a borosilicate nail, usually, quartz, boro, titanium if you've invested a little bit of money. That's the part you heat. And that can be the problem with some people when they're looking to get into dabbing. Dabbing requires a torch. You have to provide heat to the nail, and then you let it cool to your preferred temperature. But there's a torch involved, and that has some negative connotations, especially coming out of the drug culture of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. A lot of people associate this torch with crack. And while it's our job to start educating them on the difference between dabbing and crack, before we can do that, we have to get beyond that. And I know me personally, it took a little bit to get beyond that before I got into dabbing myself. So how do we get beyond the torch? Well, you can invest in an e-nail. This is where your money goes. If you're looking to really start dabbing, you can get a stationary unit. These run anywhere from the mid 200s all the way up to thousands of dollars, depending on what they've put into the e-nail. But what's important is, again, right here. That is usually a tungsten coil. It wraps around your titanium or quartz nail, and it keeps it at a consistent temperature. For dabbing, for medicinal benefits, this is important because this is where you set your temperature for your terpene benefits. If you're looking to do whole plant dabs and you have a whole plant extraction, you can decide that you only want to dab at 350 and you're hitting THC and everything before that, but you're not getting anything that takes a higher boiling point. You can set it at 400 degrees, which is my preferred for a vape pen, and you start getting your humulene and your linalool. I know a lot of people, when it comes to an e-nail, the problem is that it heats from the outside in, so you have to set it higher to have your nail be at the right temperature. So a lot of people set it around 650 or so, and you end up dabbing at about 500 degrees. That's an expensive thing, so how do we do it? You know, most of us can't afford to do an e-nail. I can't afford to drop $500 on an e-nail. So you go to a shop, and what do they have? This is a basic CO2 concentrate pen. You have a battery. This one here specifically is known as an auto draw battery. The instant you start sucking on the mouthpiece, the battery activates, it heats a coil, and it vaporizes the CO2 oil. That's the basic cartridge there. Moving up from that, you actually have batteries that have coils that go with them that will heat up and dab just like if you were using a dab rig or an e-nail. The coil typically is this coil here. This one is a ceramic one. I've had quartz ones. I've tested and reviewed titanium ones. The most common is the ceramic. Then this one has a wick in the center. A ceramic with a quartz rod is the most preferred for a dab rig because it allows you to actually taste your terpenes, where the wick absorbs the terpenes and you actually don't get as much of the flavor, and all you're getting is the cannabinoids instead of the terpenes. Moving beyond that, you have what I call dab pins. So this here is the Cloud. We have the Classic and the Platinum. This is the same brand as the one that is being raffled. Now, the one that's being raffled is for dry flower. It's a flower vaporizer, where this is actually a concentrate vaporizer. This is the same as what you saw on the slide before with that ceramic coil, except the coils are designed differently. They're coned. They are angled differently. They're designed to actually, instead of building a reclaim up on the side, they're designed to collect and still vaporize the reclaim for more efficiency. This one is from a company called the Kind Pen. This coil is the next level in that. This one it's deeper. It holds more concentrate. If you can see here on the side, there's an air hole here that all of these, the airflow is down here. This has that airflow, but it has an additional one in the coil. That is designed to create more of a carb cap-like effect if those of you who have dabbed before, when you heat the nail, you put a cap over it and it creates a furnace-like effect. Well, this is designed to do the same thing. This is also the next step up. It has variable air control. So for those of you, again, it's like a carb cap. You can set a high resistance where there's almost nothing. There's a strong resistance to how you're inhaling. Or you can set it to where it's like breathing, and you're just inhaling as much oxygen as you're inhaling the amount of vapor that you're vaporizing. The next step beyond that, and this is your temperature-controlled vaporizer, your dab pin, where you're allowed to set the wattage, you're allowed to set the temperature, This specific one is from the company called Dabsolute. There are several ones out there. The best one, in my opinion, uses coils like this, which the Dabsolute doesn't. Moving in, this is the next upgrade in coil where there's 2 of them. Now this one's a wick, which I don't suggest. These are the ones that I suggest. Now these specific coils come from one from Source Vapes, but this is the style that you're wanting to look for if you're wanting to actually have a portable dab. This is coilless. The entire cup will heat on these first 4. The 2 in the center of those first 4 have an additional quartz bottom element that allows for more heating, but you lose some of your vaporization, or not your vaporization, sorry. You lose some of your terpene profiles with those ones because they actually heat hotter than the coilless ones. The ones on the other side, those ones are, we have a single coil, you've got dual coils. You can see ones that come in ceramic, they come in quartz, they come in titanium, and then my personal favorite, which I just recently found, is black ceramic. Black ceramic coil is designed, it's more porous, it absorbs like a wick, but when it vaporizes with a higher terpene count. So you actually taste a lot more with the black ceramic over a wick, but it's more efficient than using a quartz rod or a titanium rod. The only one that I found with the black ceramic, and this is my personal favorite when it comes to a portable dab pen, this is the Source Vapes Orb. This particular one, this is the Orb 3. They're currently on the Orb 4 model. And this one is the one, it comes with the orb itself, which works like a carb cap. It has variable air control. It comes with a battery. It comes with the tool. And then this one came with 6. Now it comes with 8 different coils. If you buy the upgraded kit, it actually comes with 9 coils and a battery. This is the first one that I found that truly felt like I was dabbing without a torch and without an e-nail. So when you're looking for a delivery system, that's what you're looking for portability and discretion. Now, if you don't care about discretion, this is what you want to look for. This is the ultimate in portable dabbing. This is the 510 nail. This one is the G9 one. It's a basic model. This one's out of China. I just grabbed this one just to show you guys what it is. Every company that's selling them is basically using this model rebranding in their thing, and it's a battery, threads onto any 510 nail. So if you have a mod, this will work on any mod. Comes with a ceramic heater, it comes with a ceramic nail and coil, and a bubbler with a carb cap. It's like you're dabbing, but you have a battery. The problem with these is they're not efficient. The only way to use one of these effectively is you have to be one of those people that want to do a half-gram dab. I've tested this from using the smallest dab that I could possibly use all the way up to about a 3/4 of a gram or so. And the only one that effectively worked was you have to use a lot larger amount in these ones to let them be really, truly effective. That one showed up randomly. Sorry about that. Here's another Cloud Vapes product. They decided they wanted to upgrade that 510 nail and make it so that you had to have a whole new battery for it. This one, it's actually super popular. I've been following them a lot. I've been testing it myself. It's super popular. It works really well. The bubbler is the first one that actually feels like a bong. The 510 nails, that little bubbler usually feels like a small pipe, where this one actually feels like a bong. But the difference is that, again, you have to have just a huge amount to make it effective, and it doesn't work very well for the smaller dabber. And if you're a new dabber, this is not the thing that you're looking for. Just wanted to make sure that you saw it. All right, guys, those are the basic delivery systems for concentrates and extracts. Anybody have any questions? Mike, what's up?
First question, in general, vape pens, cartridge things, are they all set to like a standard temperature, or they vary, or what? That's number one.
The basic batteries are all set to the basic temperature, or to a wattage. The auto draw battery that I showed are usually set to between 7.5 to 10 volts, and it only allows really to hit between 10 and 15 watts. There's no temperature control, and I have no idea what temperature that actually vaporizes at, because I haven't tested with a heat gun, but what I do know is that it's really only effective for CO2 oils, or for, if you're using a BHO, you have to put it in some sort of viscous agent, PG, VG, something like that, or a really terpene-rich blend that'll really make it viscous.
Okay, question number 2 is, based on all your reviews and all your experience, your place must be pretty tricked out. Can I come party with you?
We'll have to hang out sometime, Mike.
Wonderful. Other questions?
Any other questions?
Oh,
Over here?
coming to you.
But it's got a separate device to put your
Here.
dabs in.
I'll back up and you tell me which one.
I can't see what you got there, I'm sorry. But it looks just like a bong, but it's fluorescent. It's of that material that you carry your dab in so it doesn't stick.
Oh, okay, so yes, they are making, I think you're talking about the icy mold silicone portable dab rig. So there was a reason why I didn't include any silicone items on here. Can anybody venture a guess what happens when you put a 2,000-degree torch next to silicone? Well, not really destroys it, because what they've done is they've cured the silicone so it can withstand, they claim, 2,500 degrees. Now, I've watched a video that had a silicone dab rig under a mass spectrometer. It off-gases. You actually are inhaling vaporized silicone. And so no, my recommendation is that, especially if you're using concentrates for health reasons, silicone, you're damaging yourself in a way that not even smoking will do. So please, silicone bongs are great for flower as long as there's a glass bowl, but don't dab with a silicone rig, please. Any other questions?
I've got one for you.
All right.
You're obviously so well versed in something that is so mystical to me. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got your start with Pacific Northwest Canna Reviews?
Well, so the first thing that I noticed is I read a lot of so-called reviews that were nothing more than product plugs. And it's the most common thing in the industry right now is that people want you to buy their product or a product that they've been paid to endorse. So they tell you all the good stuff about it, but they don't tell you any of the bad stuff. So then you buy a vape pen and you've smoked on it for a week and your battery dies. Or your coils go out within 2 days. And you've wasted all of this money on a product, especially when you get into something as expensive as like the Source Orb. The Source Orb goes anywhere from $100 to $200 depending on which one you want to buy. Now, it's the only one I endorse at that price because the coils themselves last that long, and the batteries that they provide, I've seen last up to 18 months on a single battery. That's almost unheard of in the industry. When I got started, nobody was talking about the bad. Everybody wanted to talk about the good. So I reached out to a company and asked them if they would be willing to undergo a layman's completely unbiased review. And they said yes. So I kept doing it and they kept saying yes. And PNW Canna Reviews was born.
Fantastic. Thank you for filling the need, because as a consumer personally, so much of this information is so over my head. And that website is
It's pnwcr.com. And then we're about to launch a new magazine called A Stoner in PN Wonderland magazine. And it's going to absorb PNW Canna Reviews. And we're going to it's a magazine that is focused for the outdoor cannabis enthusiast. And it will have product reviews, it'll have day hikes, backpacking hikes, and just all sorts of things that are just to educate the rest of the world that we're not the lazy stoners they think we are.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for everybody.